Good evening. The Rio Rancho Board of Education meeting for Monday, February 14th, 2022 is now called to order. All please mute your microphone and arise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Board Member Gary Tripp will present.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, Board Member Tripp. Kim, can you take a roll call for us?
Yes, ma'am. President Galbraith,
Present.
Vice President Morgan,
Present.
Secretary Scott,
Present.
Board Member Tripp,
Present.
Board Member Tyler.
Present.
You have a quorum, 5-0.
Thank you. Okay, we'd like to welcome everyone out to our meeting tonight. We were a little bit of a time change on it, but we're glad everyone can make it out. We especially want to welcome, we have some students that will be on tonight and also some teachers under our commendations. And so we're excited to have them here on with us, and we wish we could be with you in person to see your faces. But luckily we get to see you here on this call. So that will be wonderful. Tonight we are going to start out our meeting with some comments by our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Visu Cleveland. So we'll turn the time to her.
Happy Valentine's Day, everyone, and thank you for being with us this evening. I wanted to just give you a brief update on a visit we had with Governor Lujan Grisham today. Just a quick summary. We had about 45 minutes with the governor. The purpose of that meeting was to share our CTE efforts and what we were doing in Rio Rancho and kind of how we got there. And so shared a little bit of information about the why. We talked about the fact that during the Great Recession, many of our skilled trades persons in New Mexico left the state. And while some returned, many did not. And so we have had a shortage in the skilled trades areas, and that is really beginning to manifest itself across almost all industries. We know that it's a really strong economic development need to have a good pool of skilled trades workers in our region. It attracts businesses, recruits them to come to New Mexico, and so we know that need exists. In addition to that, we have many of the folks that currently are in those areas that are aging out, and the projections are an even greater shortage in 5 years. So we really have, as a state, whether we're school districts or other folks, we need to pull together and try to address this need. So as we began to look more and more at the need, we began to reach out to various groups. We have had discussions with NAOP. John Gallegos with NAOP was one of the first to bring some folks to us to talk with us. They were from Train, the HVAC company, about what high school programs look like and what they were doing in other parts of the country. We've had strong support from the Rio Rancho Chamber of Commerce. Certainly our commerce has been very active working with Workforce Solutions in the state. Sandoval Economic Alliance also has been part of that conversation and has given us some really good information on some of the areas that are deemed to be the very most important. We have reached out to our trade unions. That's really important when we talk about internships, apprenticeships, journeyman kinds of programs. We have also talked with both CNM and UNM. President Hartzler from CNM and several of her staff have been in conversations with us for about the last 18 months. And we have also begun conversations with UNM, having met very recently with President Stokes and Vice President Zdonas and Chief of Staff for UNM on working particularly in the area of the health professions. So we have reached out to anyone, everyone that we thought could be a part of the solution and might be able to give us support and certainly give us good advice on how to begin. We also shared with the governor the feedback we have had from our Rio Rancho students and staff. They have provided really good information on what they would like to see in our programs. And we certainly have a pretty broad amount of information related to those interests. We also have reached out and spoken with our parents. And we have a program, most of you are aware of it, but if you're not, you could go onto our website and you can see some of the parent university sessions that we offer for parents. We keep all of them, they're recorded. So if you missed one, you just weren't able to attend, it's still there for you to be able to watch. And during those programs, we get a lot of input from our families and from our parents. And we had one on CTE, it was well attended. I would have to say that given some of the issues we've dealt with in the last couple of years, it was absolutely unanimous. Absolutely no dissenters. No one was in opposition to it. Strong support that we needed to move that direction. Some parents offering to send their crews over the next day if we were ready to take advantage of that. So we had really good feedback. We've also met with our superintendent's advisory team and other groups. But I think the one thing that we realized after having talked with our business groups, talked with our parents, talked with our students, talked with our staff, there is just broad support for this effort. It's coming from every sector of our community, every political persuasion in our community. It is something that we have rare consensus on, that we need to be able to move forward. Our CTE staff has been out in the schools talking to students, doing some orientation work. One of the things that we're learning out of that, and we shared that with the governor, is the need, and not just in our district, but throughout our state, to really market CTE programs in New Mexico, to really get it out there in the community, whether that's television spots or other kinds of things. But we really need to market it to our students, because in some of the trades areas, our students have never experienced that. They've never seen it, perhaps in their own family. Maybe they don't have any friends who ever did those kinds of things, whether it's HVAC or whether it is diesel mechanic or whatever. We need to let them know what those opportunities are and how they could benefit from taking a really good look at some of those programs as they look to their own future. And then we really need to have opportunities for students to see those in action, to actually see people doing those jobs and what it entails. And we need programs in our state that will support that. We gave the governor a very detailed packet. It included the proposed budget for the CTE project in Rio Rancho. We included our memo of understanding with CNM that the board voted on at the last meeting. We had several key letters of support from major employers in our community. Very strong letters of support, and we were very grateful for that. Programs we hope that we can offer. And in that packet, we showed the governor the priorities for the state and how those programs crosswalk to those priorities. So you can see that we very much are aware of the state priorities and trying to help to address them. And then we did share some data on the gradual growth in Rio Rancho public schools of students who are currently taking programs, whether they're ours or dual credit with CNM, but we have seen an increased interest. In the parent university, we had some comments from some parents saying that their children were really interested in getting to work faster than 4 years. They wanted to get certificates. They wanted to go to work sooner rather than later and wanted those opportunities. And some said they really were not going to be able to invest in 4 years of higher education and wanted some alternatives. So, we have seen an increased interest. We want to broaden those opportunities and offer more of those options for our students. We requested of the governor some additional funding to be able to complete the project that we are working on, and we gave her a breakdown of what Rio Rancho was able to bring to the table. We certainly stress that the community of Rio Rancho has done a lot to begin this effort, and we're hoping that the state might be able to help us as well. So that's a brief highlight. It was about 45 minutes. I will have to say the governor was very positive, very responsive, saying that they are very much aware of the need for CTE, and she stressed that it certainly is a priority for her administration, but it reaches across the aisle. And so we are excited about what the future may bring for CTE in Rio Rancho, and we appreciate the time she gave us today. We have a couple of commendations that are really very special. Kurt Schmidt, our Executive Director of Fine Arts, will discuss commendations for those students that qualify for All-State Music Festival, which is a very important recognition in our state by these two groups. And then we have another very special recognition of Jocelyn Salas, who is a teacher at Puesta del Sol Elementary, and she is the National Ziegfeld winner for the U.S. Society for Education Through the Arts. And this is, I just have to tell you, this is a really prestigious award. And so we congratulate her on earning this recognition. This is a really big deal. So again, we are just so excited for her and for the recognition that's come to her, that's come to Puesta del Sol, and also to our district and our community. So congratulations, and Kurt has more to share with you on that. And then we will have a redistricting update. Michael Sharp is here from Research and Polling. We're delighted to have him with us. There will be a review of the potential scenarios and maps that they have developed. We will be giving these to the board and understanding that you will want to take those and review them more carefully and look at the various options. We do have scheduled an opportunity for public comment. I think it's very important for the community to have a chance to weigh in on those districts as well. And so there will be an opportunity for the public to do that. And so no action is planned at this board meeting, but you will get a look at some of those options. And that's all I have. So are there any questions? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Cleveland. And just on that CTE comments on that, I'm just so excited that we have so many people across the board in our community who are just excited about it. And hopefully we can get some things moving. Before we go on, so we're gonna move into, does anyone else have any questions or comments on Dr. Cleveland's? You're welcome to, okay.
No.
Okay, we're going to go to our executive to approve the prioritized agenda. I just wanted to make sure that Jocelyn didn't get off because I want to make sure that she's still on. Oh, good. Okay, don't leave because we're not to commendations yet. So we've had some times where when we're in these virtual meetings, we lose people, and then I'm sad because I want to talk to you. Okay, we'll see you in just a few minutes when we get to it. All right, so for item E, so approve our prioritized agenda and propose time allocations. Any movement or questions on the agenda as it's been presented? And if not, a motion would be great.
This is Board Member Jeff Morgan. I make a motion to approve the executive prioritized agenda.
This is Sherry Noreen Scott, second.
Okay, we have a motion by Jeff Morgan and a second by Noreen Scott. And Kim, can you take a roll call vote for us, please?
Yes, ma'am. Vice President Morgan,
Yes.
Secretary Scott,
Yes.
Board Member Tripp,
Yes.
Board Member Tyler,
Yes.
and President Galvin.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you. All right, for our public comment for the evening, we received 5 public comments, and I will go through and summarize those to get us started. So we have our first public comment. We received 2 public comments from Andrea McCarthy, both around COVID restrictions. Her first one was she was upset about the enhanced COVID restrictions that went into place as our numbers went up, and would like us to not have any more masks or restrictions with that. She also asked that in her second one that we end the mask mandates that we received from the state. Our other public comment, we received 3 from Petra Smith. regarding mask mandates, also about our district receiving money because we've been receiving COVID relief money through the pandemic as we follow the mandates that we've been receiving. And with that, those are all of our public comments. We are grateful to receive public comments. For those who would like to give public comment, please visit the board page on the Rio Rancho Public Schools website. There is a form there where you can go and give public comment, and we read each and every one of those as they come in, and we're grateful for them. So we encourage our public to continue to use that form. Hopefully soon, in a couple of weeks, we should be back in session where we can have public comment with people coming back into the boardroom. Okay. And now we'll move into commendations. So for our commendations tonight, as Dr. Cleveland says, we have some different things with our choir directors and also with our art teacher. What I'm going to do is go ahead and turn our time to Kurt Schmidt, our Executive Director of Fine Arts, and he will go through all of the commendations that we have for tonight.
Great, thank you, President Galbraith, members of the board, Dr. Cleveland. Tonight I present to you for commendation 80 achieving individuals who have received honors and awards the last few months. Most are viewing the meeting tonight on the public platform, but we do have some on the Google Meet. We have all the teachers of these students and the seniors from both high schools. We did not want to gum up the meeting too much with too many little squares of people, so we decided to limit it to our teachers and our seniors. I would first like to present 15 middle school and high school students who earned spots in the 2022 New Mexico American Choral Directors Association All-State Festival. And I believe if we go to the next slide, we will see their names. We had 15 from Lincoln Middle School. We had Savannah Martinez, Cody Heredia, Sarah Allman, Wyatt Rodriguez, Danielle Long, and Sebastian Zamora. And the next slide, from Mountain View Middle School, we had Juliet Paul, Victoria Morgan, and Xavier Jett. And then from Cleveland High School, we had these ninth graders, Bonnie Leba, Danica Williams, Emma Fisher, Diego Bracamonte, and Marshall Logan. Also, I want to, in addition to these students, I want to mention that all 15 were invited to participate in the Southwest ACDA Honor Festival, which will be held later this month in Little Rock, Arkansas. And so we have, they were all invited. We have 9 students attending, and that'll be a wonderful opportunity for them to mix with some of the best from the regional states in this area. I also want to introduce these students' fine teachers and dedicated teachers. Ms. Yadira Flam of CHS, Ms. Jolynn Ullerid of MVMS, and Mrs. Micah Proctor of LMS. And next, we have several students who earned spots in the annual New Mexico Music Educators Association All-State Festival. And we have several band, orchestra, and choir students. From Cleveland High School Band, we have Raven Dickens, Natalie Gardet, Giselle, I'm not sure how to pronounce her name, I apologize if that's wrong, Gomez, Brian Gonzalez, Madison Hyam, Bryce Carlson, Aubrey Cooper, Kirsten Cooper, Julian Moritz, Benjamin Olmsted, Riot Price, Vincent Quintana, Isabel Reeves, and Danielle Webb. And also from Cleveland High School Band, we had three members make the All-State Jazz Festival, Tyler Anderson, Vincent Quintana, and Riot Price. So congratulations to them. From the Rio Rancho High School Band, we had Phoebe Ahn, Asher Apodaca, Jason Christopherson, Adrian De La Pena, Sebastian Farrell, Ollie George, Ariana Griego, Benjamin Hernandez, Thomas Icken, Nolan Mellon, Rebecca Pelowitz, Elizabeth Schmidt, and Jonathan Shin. So congratulations to them. From the Cleveland High School Choir, Connor Archibek, Solana Baum, Isabel Bonilla, Adriana Cordero, Elizabeth Harper, Alana Healy, Alexis Heslop, Jacob Hicks, CJ Howe, Adriana Lopez, Emily Martin, Alessandra Martinez, Naomi Medina, Ireland Myerscuff, Shannon Morlock, Genevieve Paul, Genevieve Roca, Haley Tarrant, Greta Van Bruggen, Danica Williams, and Lauren Woosley. From Rio Rancho High School Choir, we had Adele Baum, Kimberly Jurgens, Vanjaya Mansang Gutierrez, Sierra Moore, Carmen Padilla, Vanessa Polhamos, Breton Seago, Miriam Shin, Tristan Weber, and Abigail Wright. And from the Cleveland High School Orchestra, we had Alexandra Nobis, Aaron Sheffield, and Marina Wademan. And from Rio Rancho High School Orchestra, Esme Lapointe and Petra Ginther. So to those students, if I butchered your name, I terribly apologize, but congratulations to all those recipients. Also, I want to introduce their outstanding teachers, Mr. Matt Casares, and I invite the seniors who are on the call with us to turn on the cameras and the teachers. Again, the teachers, Mr. Matt Casares and Mr. Alex Ostel from Rio Rancho High School Band, Ms. Rebecca Kendall, Choir Director at Rio Rancho High School, Ms. Allie Brasher, Orchestra Director at Rio Rancho High School, Mr. Daniel Holmes and Mr. Josh Dumais, Band Directors at CHS, Ms. Yadira Flam, Choir Director at CHS, and Ms. Cherokee Randolph, Orchestra Director at Cleveland High School. So congratulations to all of them for getting so many students in our all-state festivals. Just wonderful opportunity. Unfortunately, the bad news is all these festivals, but the Little Rock, Arkansas festival were actually canceled because of the rising Omicron variant. So, but the students nevertheless did earn their spots, and they're should be just as honored that they made the ensemble, although they were not able to participate this year. So, I don't. President Galbraith, I don't know if you want to pause there if you have any questions for the students or the teachers before we go on to the faculty member, or
Yeah, let's pause for just a second and then we'll go on to our next one here in just a minute. But I just want to say congratulations. So many of those students, I don't know how many of them are on or have their camera on, but so many of those students, I recognize so many of their names. And truly, maybe I'm biased because, you know, I grew up in this district and my kids are in this district, but we just have some of the best music programs in our district. I am just so pleased with everything, and with so many of, you know, different teachers and stuff we've had interactions with. And what's wonderful is that as teachers, I mean, they help with so much more than just the music. It's so much more to these kids as they go through these programs. So I just want to say thank you so much to our teachers, and just a huge congratulations to our students who work so hard. I get to see many of these students in my profession. I get to teach some of these students as well, and they get so stressed. They get so stressed as these different things come up. And so it is amazing to see the outcomes and that they've been recognized for everything that they've gone through. So teachers, before you leave, I just want to give the board an opportunity to give comments. And of course, if they have any questions for you, that they can give that. And if any of you would like to say anything, you're welcome to do that in a second as well. But we'll start with Vice President Morgan. Would you like to say anything?
Yeah, I don't have any questions, but I do just want to echo what President Amanda just said. Thanks for all you do. Thanks for the support from the teachers. And more importantly, thank you for working so hard to represent the Rio Rancho Public School District. Thank you so much. Greatly appreciate it.
All right, we'll go to Secretary Scott. Did you want to add anything?
Congratulations and thank you for your hard work. I'm very disappointed that you don't get to take your place in these events. And I hope that COVID is over soon so that our talented students will have an opportunity to really display their talent. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and then Jessica Tyler.
Yeah, just also want to congratulate you all and commend you for your hard work, especially during these challenging times when you work so hard and then don't even get to go have the reward of traveling to these competitions. So thank you to all the students for your hard work and your excellence, and to all the teachers for your great leadership and dedication to the kids as well.
And Gary Tripp.
I also want to congratulate all of you. I was reminded that I used to, when Mr. Schmidt and I used to work together, I used to have a common saying to all 8th graders that were going to be 9th graders. One of the comments was, if you want to be first chair in the New York Symphony Orchestra, look no place further, because we have the teachers in our buildings that will allow you that opportunity to work on those skills and be there. So my congratulations to the students and teachers we know you're first class, but I thank you for being first class and for giving it all for those students. Thank you so much. Truly appreciate the job you do.
All right, thank you. Teachers, is there anything you would like to add? If anyone wants to add anything, you're welcome to unmute and add anything. No, you're like, please no, please no. Okay. I'll give you guys a second. Okay, and Dr. Cleveland, go ahead.
I just wanted to add my congratulations and know how much work goes into getting to that level. And so it's just a real testament to the work that you've done with these students and to their work ethic and their dedication. So again, congratulations.
Okay. All right. Another pause. Okay. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. Do anyone want to say anything? I will give you one more second if you guys want to unpause. Go ahead.
I'll speak for everybody
Thank you.
and just say thank you, everybody, for your continued support throughout everything that's been going on. The arts are valued here in Rio Rancho, and we feel it every single day. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for speaking on behalf. Anyone else? Okay. All right. Thank you so much for being on. So we'll go on to our second commendation. We'll go back to Kurt Schmidt to give us our next one.
Yes, and finally, I'd like to present Ms. Jocelyn Salas, art teacher at Puesta del Sol Elementary School, who is this year's recipient of the United States Society for Education Through Art National Edwin Ziegfeld Award, a national award given to an outstanding art educator. And I must admit, she won this award in spite of the fact that I wrote a letter of recommendation. So I guess I said something right, or maybe it didn't hurt as badly. But that was one of the easiest letters to write, and to limit it to only a page was very hard with all of her accomplishments. I can personally attest to Ms. Salas's talent, hard work, and dedication that she displays every day in her classroom and beyond. She also serves as the elementary art content leader, in which capacity she helps plan professional development and coordinates other activities among the 11 elementary art teachers. She's a wonderful teacher, a wonderful human being, and probably one of the best hires this district has ever made. So I hope she's turned on her camera so you can see her, and I don't know if you have questions for her. Or...
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And thank you for staying on with us. Sorry, it gets a little confusing. Congratulations. That is amazing. All of that hard work. I'd like to just give you a second if you want to add anything or say anything, and then we'll kind of go over to the board and let them have a chance to speak, into Dr. Cleveland as well. But I'll give you just a moment.
I just want to thank the district for being so supportive of the fine arts. This program that we have with visual arts, music, theater, it's an amazing program, and I feel so supported as a teacher in the Rio Rancho Public Schools Fine Arts Department. I'm very, very grateful to be a part of this district with such a emphasis on the fine arts. Thank you for your support, especially Kurt.
He's great, isn't he? We're lucky to have him. So thank you. And so stay on with us one more moment, and I'm just going to go around to the board and let them just give you some kudos. So we'll start with, and we'll go with Gary Tripp. We'll start with Gary Tripp. You're muted though, Gary.
I just had a little, just a question outside of, I should say, and start with congratulations. Can you tell us a little bit about the award and how it came about? Just a little bit of background for the board, but I'm very excited and very honored that you received that, and thank you for what you do for our children.
The award is presented to an art educator who demonstrated leadership in and commitment to multicultural, cross-cultural educational strategies in schools and communities. And so I was in touch with a professor, Dr. Angela Laporte from the University of Arkansas, who asked me to speak to one of her classes about my work with multicultural students. I also have a chapter published in a book about teaching multicultural education that was published by the National Art Education Association. And so after working with Dr. Laporte, she's the one that nominated me for the award. So, you know, and I've also done work with the National Hispanic Cultural Center. And so my work as an art educator extends beyond my work in the classroom, but also in the community.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all of that. I really appreciate it. Good job. Thank you.
And Ms. Salas has neglected to mention that she has also had her personal artwork displayed at the National Hispanic Cultural Arts Center. And just, she's a wonderful artist in her own right.
That's awesome. I really want to be published in a book, so we should get together. You should. That would be amazing. Let's go to Jeff Morgan.
I just want to say congratulations. And again, thank you for representing the Rio Rancho Public School District, and continue to go forward, continue to use the talent, the skill that you have. We're so proud of you. Thank you so much, and congratulations.
Thank you. Noreen Scott. You are muted, Noreen, or I just can't hear you. I'm not sure what it is. That's okay. She is saying, you can tell that she's saying thank you. But her somehow the volume is not working on. So we'll go over to Jessica Tyler, and then we'll go over to Dr. Cleveland.
Yes, Jocelyn Salas, congratulations, and what an honor for you and for the district, and most importantly, I think for our students to have you and your wonderful skill set and your willingness to not only work so hard in the classroom, but then do additional work that helps bring recognition to our community. And great job, and definitely sounds like it's so well deserved. So congratulations.
Oh, thank you. And then Dr. Cleveland, did you want to hop on?
I would just add my congratulations. This is just so wonderful, and we congratulate you. It's such an honor, and as I told you all, this is really a big deal, and so we are really proud for you and for the work that you have done. So congratulations. And I would just kind of add on what was said earlier to the board. We value our fine arts programs. We have incredibly talented staff, and that has been brought together under Kurt's leadership. And but the board has to be there and has to support it. And in the history of our school district, there's never been a time when the board said, let's reduce our fine arts programs, let's not continue to support them. And they pay off in so many ways for our students. So Jocelyn, thank you so much for being part of that, and for the hard work that you do.
All right. Well, thank you. We really, really appreciate everything that you've done. So, Curry, any last things?
No, thank you for your time tonight. And I'd like to echo what everyone has been said, just the support that the board, Dr. Cleveland, the community has given fine arts is wonderful. I would not spend my professional career anywhere else. And I think that's true of all of our teachers too. They love it here, and because they're supported. And so we thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for staying on with us. And with that, if anyone is listening tonight and they are wondering where should they go teach, they should come to Rio Rancho Public Schools. We need teachers. So please come to our schools. We love our teachers. So Noreen, you want to just try unmuting and we'll just see if we can hear you now?
Yes, can you hear me now?
I can hear you. I can hear you now.
I've really been having technical difficulties this evening. I apologize.
That is okay. Thank you. I'm just glad that it's working now. Okay. So we'll move on to our next item, which is our reports. We're going to look at, we're going to have a redistricting update and review of potential scenarios. So we have Beth Pendergrass, our Chief Communications Strategy and Engagement Officer on, as well as Michael Sharp from Research and Polling, who's been putting this together for us.
Good evening, Madam President Galbraith, Dr. Cleveland, members of the board. I just wanted to turn it over to Michael Sharp this evening, who's going to do the presentation with updates on what he's determined with the redistricting for the school board. So Mr. Sharp.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Good evening. I'll turn up my mic so I can hear you guys. Okay, so I'm going to try to make the first part of the presentation brief. We went over the principles and guidelines in the process pretty comprehensively the last time around. And so I'll touch on those quickly, and then we can jump into the plans. And the intention with the plans, the maps would give you a general idea of kind of big picture changes. And then if you have any questions, more specific questions, then please ask away. It's hard to put all the boundaries and labels and stuff on the boundaries on those maps. So as we get towards the end, just ask whatever questions you have and have any suggestions or comments. So what I'd like to do is, this is the same presentation we had last time, but I'll just skip through to the pages. So we'll go to the next page. And for those who weren't here last time or weren't present, what's really important is that this redistricting process and what your school board districts look like for Rio Rancho Public Schools is that it's determined by the school board itself. The county commission or city council, legislature, they don't have really any authority over what your boundaries look like for the school districts. This is a determination by the board itself. And in terms of redistricting wide, basically it's required by state statute. Rio Rancho Public Schools has greater than 16,000 people. So you're required to do it, and you have to do it after each decennial census. And then the principles of redistricting, we have on the next slips on page 5, next slide. The 5 principles of redistricting, the first 4 are the constitutional and legal requirements. Once we meet those for the various plans, then we can use the communities of interest to determine what the boundaries could look like. So that's kind of why we ended up with a number of different plans, as each one met those first 4 criteria, but there were different, what we call objectives or communities of interest, or just thought processes that went behind the plans. What I'd like to do is go to page 8, I guess, just so when we're looking at the population of each district, what we're shooting for is 21,207. I did have to modify the total pop, bumped up the total pop of Rio Rancho Public Schools to account for some errors I found in some census data. So it did increase it by 68%. But what we're shooting for is every district about 21,207 people, plus or minus 5%. So as long as every district falls within plus or minus 5% to 21,207 people, then we should be good. For minority voting strength, it's not applicable to Rancho in terms of creating districts that are minority districts, say majority Hispanic or Native American or African American. They're sizable communities. They're just not large enough to create districts that are majority minority population. We'll go to compactness. Basically, just make sure that the district lines look fairly straightforward between the plans. There aren't any funny lines sticking out all over the place, and they just have to make sense when you see them on the map. And I'll go ahead and skip through that, and we'll go to contiguity. Contiguity, in essence, just every district has to be one part, not 2 or more. And so you have to be able to get at every other part of the district. So you're looking at it on a map. I put say you put your pencil on the district, get to every other part of the district without lifting up your pencil. So you just have to have, district has to be made up of one piece, one distinct part, and not 2 or more. So once we've done that, and with respect to Rio Rancho, this, in some ways, this is what everybody tends to focus on. Yeah, we have the legal constitutional requirements, but how does that impact the community itself? And that how you define the community varies. And it can be based on political considerations. In this case, would be precincts, the basic building block of running the elections in New Mexico. And we try not to split the precincts because that can cause voter confusion. We can look at where the neighborhoods are, the communities, the developments, geographic boundaries, whether it's Highway 528 or Southern or Northern or any sort of major thoroughfares can also act as boundaries. We can look at any sort of historical traditions. The next bullet is talking about the core of existing districts. And sometimes folks want to say, well, we really, really like the districts we have today. Can you make changes that are just enough to make the districts fall within that plus or minus 5%? So sometimes that is an important consideration. You can also look at the board members themselves and the residences within the districts, and after redistricting, whether or not there's one board member per district, or if you happen to pair board members in a single district. In this case, in all the plans, with there's one board member per district. We're able to just take a look at the plans and ended up having one board member per district. And the districts still look pretty good. They still look great without having to take any special considerations for where the board members lived. And so all of those can be taken into account as long as you don't violate the redistricting guidelines. If you need to split a neighborhood in order to create districts which are equal in population, well, then that neighborhood needs to be split. The choice might be which neighborhood to split, whether it's Northern Meadows or Enchanted Hills or Corrales Heights or Cabazon or Loma, Colorado, or any of the neighborhoods. So there's a lot of action going on between the districts, and it's going to be up to the board to figure out what considerations you want to think of and prioritize. So none of the plans are perfect, and you can go to the previous slide, please. So none of the plans are perfect, and all those factors we talked about can work against each other. These are initial plans A, B, B1, C, D, E, and E, and so we have really 6 plans. So that's a lot, but you may find that there's something about a particular plan that you don't like, or you really like something about a plan, and you say, hey, can you make one minor little change? And I can certainly take a look and come back with any sort of modifications. And so these are definitely things that aren't set in stone. So then on the next slide, we talked about the process a little bit. We're going through the ABCs. We'll show the plans. If there's any input from the board that requires changes to the plans, then we'll revise the plans and bring them back to the board for the board's consideration. And eventually the board will approve a plan, and that will go into effect for the election occurring in November of 2023. So the elections are the districts that are up for election in 2023. That's when these redistricting plans, or the redistricting plan, will take effect. Okay, just real quickly, let's go to the map of the current districts. And just to refresh our memory about the deviations and what has to change, when we look at the districts, if it's above 5% deviation or below or less than negative 5% deviation, then the district has to adjust. So districts 1 and 4 are both above positive 5% deviation. Those will have to shrink or lose population. And district 4 is at negative 14%, almost 15%. And it needs to add population. District 2 is within that plus or minus 5%. And so theoretically, it wouldn't really have to change at all. And so we'll definitely have to change districts 1, 4, 3, and 3. And sorry, district 5 is almost right on. So it theoretically doesn't have to change either. And this comes about it comes into play with the communities of interest. The numbers may work out well. You may only have to make 1 or 2 changes to get a plan that's very close to what you have today, but that may not meet the needs of what the board feels would best serve the needs of the community. And so that's why we have multiple plans. Let's go ahead and go down to the first plan, which is Plan A. And I believe it's slide 21. And so every plan that we show, I won't really talk about the deviations with respect to how far how far each district is away from 0. But we'll just say that every single plan we show is within plus or minus 5%. So Plan A is, I guess it's a minimal changes from current. And if District 1 and 3 were both on the high end, and District 4 was on the low end, then the thought here was, well, why can't we kill, I guess, 3 birds with 1 stone and say District 4 takes a little bit out of District 1, and then reducing District 1's population, adding some to 4. That still leaves District 3 on the high end. District 4 is still a little bit low. And then District 4 takes a little bit from District 3. So then they all ended up being balanced out. Districts 2 and 5 don't change at all. So District 4 added 1 precinct north of the Arroyo de los Montoyas up to Loma, Colorado, and took just a little bit of the Loma, Colorado, maybe one of those 2 or 3 precincts, and added it into District 4. So Loma, Colorado is split between Districts 1 and 4. And then south of Southern, District 4 adds the area south of 19th between Golf Course and 528. So District 3 used to scoot almost all the way over to 528 south of 19th. And now that little piece is now in District 4. So District 4's line on its west side goes straight down Golf Course all the way down to the county line from Southern. So really that's it. That's Plan A. If we go to Plan B, this was an attempt to have districts that look somewhat like what you have today, but in your current districts and Plan A, Enchanted Hills is split between Districts 1 and 5. And so this was an attempt to maintain something similar, but take Enchanted Hills and unite it or unify it into a single district, and that would be District 5. So what ends up happening is kind of, in my kind of point of view, it's kind of a clockwise rotation of the districts. District 5 adds the part of Enchanted Hills that's south of Enchanted Hills. They used to be in 1. So that is removed from District 1 and put into District 5. So everything south of Enchanted Hills goes into 5. Then 1, you'll notice between 1 and 4, it now is back to its current boundary. And it's back on the Arroyo de los Montoyas between Districts 1 and 4. 4 doesn't go across the Arroyo and into Loma, Colorado anymore. 4 still takes that piece south of 19th between Golf Course and 528, takes that from 3. But that wasn't enough to give 4 enough population. So what 4 did was on its, I guess, western side, north of Southern, between Southern and Idalia, it did scoot further west between Southern, not Idalia, I'm sorry, just north of Southern, and added some more people over to Unser. Basically, some folks from Western Hills moved from District 2 to District 4. District 3, same changes last time, except it lost a little bit of population to District 2. So District 2 ended up losing some population to District 4, and it added 1 precinct from District 3, south of Idalia, kind of west of the Western Hills. And it also, District 2 had to move north. So when we did all that, the changes between 1, 3, and 4, we hadn't really touched 5 yet. 5 added the rest of Enchanted Hills, so it made it too big. So how do we fix that situation? So now we remove population from 2. It was too small. It added a little bit from 3. It was still too small. And 2 was used to take population from District 5. So what 2 does is it does move north a little bit into Northern Meadows up to King and east of Meadow. And then it goes north and east on both sides of Paseo del Volcan to add Cleveland High School and the neighborhoods north and south of Paseo del Volcan. So that part north and south of Paseo del Volcan around Cleveland Middle School, that used to be in District 5. In this plan, those neighborhoods, Cleveland Heights and Progress Heights, which is south of Paseo, those go into District 2. So District 2 does scoot. It's a large area, but really the population itself is, within half a mile or a mile of Paseo del Volcan. Everything north of that District 2 label, there's 0 people living there. So, people may say, well, that's a funny looking district. Well, we're trying to conform to the precinct boundaries. And so that's why sometimes it looks a little funny because they're trying to follow precinct boundaries. But really the population itself is right around Cleveland High School, as well as south of, between Paseo del Volcan and Idalia. So practically speaking, the population is more compact than the geography would lend itself to believe. Okay, so B1 is a slight change to B. And the thinking here was, well, that's a pretty big change to District 2. What happens if instead of District 2 going up and picking up the Cleveland High School area north and south of Paseo del Volcan, what happens if that area goes into District 1 instead? And so in essence, this is almost exactly the same as B, but that one precinct with Cleveland High School does go into District 1 instead of going into 2. And District 2 needed to add some population, so it adds on its southwestern corner another precinct south of Arkansas, between Adalia and Southern. So I think this is the only plan, if it's important, when you're looking at the school distribution, that both Cleveland High School and Rio Rancho High School are both in the same district. And that could be consider a community of interest that the board may want to consider. So it's kind of a unique, to school boards themselves, it's a unique factor that county commissions or city councils don't necessarily think about that much, but it may be important to the board. Okay, so with Plan C, this one is a little bit different than what you have today. Let's, oops. It's actually, I'm sorry, I was, okay, so district or Plan C, one of the previous plans we saw that Northern Meadows was split between districts 2 and 5. And so I wanted to take another shot at a plan that kept Northern Meadows intact and in a single district. So it left it in District 5 as one community. And the other thing I wanted to do was for District 4, it crosses Broadmoor. And this is also a look at, well, what happens if you didn't want District 4 to cross Broadmoor over to Nicholas? Let's take that area between Nicholas and Broadmoor and take it out of 4 and put it into 2. What happens? So a lot of these plans are kind of what happens if. Those are the questions we're trying to answer. So what happens if we take the area between Nicholas and Broadmoor and put it into 2? Well, for District 4, it's lost a decent amount of population. It continues to add that part south of 19th between Golf Course and 528. But what it does here is it goes further north of the Arroyo, takes all of Loma Colorado, and then takes some of Vista Hills, but not all of. So it doesn't quite go all the way to Rockaway, between Northern and 528. So it takes half of that area. So in essence, you're kind of, and then it's also that Enchanted Hills, it is still split between districts 1 and 5. District 5, a little bit different look to 5, is that because it lost some population to District 1. So what happened was 4 went into the southern end of 1, added population. 1 became too small. 1 had to add population. It went further into Enchanted Hills. District 5 got too small, and now it has to add population. So what happens is it moves south and east on the north side of Idalia down towards Unser, and it's adding those newer developments with it the past 5 years or so of High Range and around Mirador del Sol on the north side of Idalia, all the way down to Unser and Northern. So that's District 5 does change it a little bit. District 2 lost a lot of population to 5, so it's the one that takes the people between Nicholas and Broadmoor, north of Southern, and they go into District 2. And then it added a little bit of Siesta Hills, like we saw in Plan B on its southwestern corner. Okay. So for Plan D, this one is the one that is a little bit different. I wanted to take a look at what happens if you take Corrales Heights. It's been with District 4 in the previous plans. What happens if you take Corrales Heights and add it to the population with Sarah and Cabazon and almost all the way out to Puesto del Sol Elementary School, and remove that population of Southern and put it into 3 instead of 4. So now what you have is you have 2 kind of, I want to say almost really traditional Rio Rancho districts except for Cabazon, which is newer. And so 3 has Cabazon, it has Corrales Heights, south of Southern, east of 528. District 4 is between Southern and the Arroyo and 528, and almost all the way over to Rainbow on its western end. So 4 really takes that really central part of Rio Rancho and puts it into a single district, just about as much as possible. District 2 has all of Northern Meadows, everything on both sides of Rainbow goes up into Northern Meadows and does split Northern Meadows just about in half between districts 2 and 5. 5 has all of Enchanted Hills. So Enchanted Hills is again united within a single district. It was split in a previous plan. And it also picks up again the communities on the north side of Adalia down to Unser. And then District 1, southern boundaries about the Arroyo, and it loses that part of Enchanted Hills. And it does cross the Arroyo between 1 and 4 and District 1's westernmost corner, southwesternmost corner, and it does take a piece south of the Arroyo. Let's see. I want to make sure that don't move on without. Okay, so it is possible if for districts 1 and 4, you didn't want District 1 to cross the Arroyo into 4, where 1 has a little point on the southwestern part. It is possible to take that little piece kind of up and to the right of District 4 that's blue and put it into District 4 to unite all of that community into one district. And District 1 would then be low in population, and it could take a precinct near District 5, and it would end up crossing Paseo. The geography would cross Paseo de Volcan, but all the population would still be south of Paseo. So that if you like this plan, but you don't like District 1 crossing the Arroyo south of it and south of Adalia on its southwestern corner, you could go and add it back into 4 and move District 1 a little bit further north into 5, and not affect Enchanted Hills as well. So that's just if you like this plan, you want to make that modification. Okay, and so that one little precinct that I was talking about between districts 1 and 4, the southwestern quarter, is Los Milagros. So if you wanted Los Milagros in 4, that could happen. That could change. Oops. Okay, so for Plan E, all right, this one again is a little just a different look. So the question here is, well, what happens if instead of putting those newer developments of High Range and Mirador del Sol that are north of Adalia and northern and east of Unser, and what happens if you put those into District 2? We've seen them go into District 5 before. Well, what happens if we put them into District 2? That allows Northern Meadows to stay in District 5. North Hills stays in District 2 and is united into 1. So District 2 has North Hills, High Range, Mirador del Sol, and the communities around there. That does have part of Siesta Hills, west of Lisbon and north of Baltic. And then it's also west of Ivory between Adalia and Southern. And it adds everything west of Rainbow. So everything west of Rainbow was in District 3, and now it's in District 2. It has an impact on District 3. District 3 lost a lot of population, so now District 3 moves north to Adalia. So it takes all that area between Adalia and Southern, with roughly Nicholas on the east and Lisbon on the west, and puts that into District 3. And District 4 is pretty similar to what we've seen before. It does go over to Nicholas. It adds that population south of 19th and east of Golf Course, and it adds one more precinct in Loma, Colorado, between Districts 1 and 4. In Enchanted Hills, the Enchanted Hills today is split along Enchanted Hills Boulevard, and in this plan, it is split along Paseo de Volcan between Districts 1 and 5. And so as you look at the plans, that's the last plan, but as you look at them and you kind of think about what are the priorities of the board, what you think would best meet the communities, the community itself, you can see how some plans might do really well in terms of one community keeping whole, but might split another. And so there's lots of different options. And so you get to kind of balance how you do this. You know, how important is potential future growth? You want to keep the deviations low for higher growth areas. And do you want the districts to look like they look like today? and should any of these take priority over the others? So those are all questions that internally that you can talk about and discuss. And so that's the final plan. Those are the comments that I have. And so if you have any questions for me, I'm willing to answer them to the best of my ability. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. And before we kind of go into all the questions, I'll just want to run over to Dr. Cleveland real quick, see if she has anything, and go to the board.
I don't really have any questions. Thank you for your hard work. There's a lot of really interesting possibilities there. I would really encourage the board, though, to take some time now and go through these and really look at them in greater detail, because we will have to live with these for 10 years. So we want to be sure that they reflect what you think is in the best interest of our community, and take that time. We also will need to schedule some public input. The board can do it any way you want to do it. And Beth may want to address that. We've done it different ways in the past. We put all of the options out and let people come in on those. We have also in the past narrowed it down to the ones that the board thinks are most feasible, and letting the community know which ones you tend to favor, but you can do it any way you want to do it. So I will turn it over to Beth and see if she has some comments.
I'm really open to whatever the board would prefer. Generally speaking, I think it's better when the public has fewer options to go through. It'd be nice to narrow it down for the public before we send them the options. And we could certainly do that in a number of ways. We could do a parent university, kind of like tonight, and go through it, or we could do similar to what we did last week, send the presentation, send the options, let folks email or write in their feedback as to information that they want to share. But I really leave it up to the board as to how you want to proceed from here. And also Mr. Sharp might have some feedback for that as well.
Yeah, Mr. Sharp, how have other districts do that? What do you feel has worked the best?
Thank you. It's basically what it's just been stated. It's up to the board. There are, you have 6 options, and I was thinking, there's a lot of information on the maps, and you may not know exactly where those boundaries are, and if you want more details on the boundaries of the plan, I think that the communities have gone a number of different ways. They may have started out with 6 plans that we have today and then narrowed them down. So sometimes it's good to just narrow them down, and the board says, this one is just not feasible at all. And Michael, you were crazy, and why'd you even show it? And then you can just that works fine as well. The other thing sometimes can happen is you start with 2 or 3 and you end up with 20. But maybe we don't want to go down that path. But I'd say it just depends on what you feel would best meet the needs and how much time you want to spend on the individual plans, or just focus on the ones that you really think could work. It really is up to you.
I have another question, I guess. In the past, of course, we put up maps, and people have been able to come in and see the maps and look at them in much greater detail. I'm a little concerned about the smallness on the screen and people being able to really see them and understand where those lines are. How is that being dealt with in other districts during COVID? How is that? Is it generally being done virtual, like a parent university, or are maps put up and people are able to come by but not congregate in large numbers? How has it been handled during COVID?
Well, I would say that normally we'd be able to have the maps posted on poster board and have it in the lobby or wherever it would be. So as people come in, they can take a look at it. But we're in the process right now of creating map PDFs that are much more detailed with a lot more streets.
Okay.
And so we will be sending those to Kim and Beth, and to I guess distribute as needed or post as needed. If there's a parent and you need additional questions answered there, just let me know if you feel like that is something where I can provide better descriptions of the boundaries. If there are questions about that, that's certainly something we can do. But at the very least, we'll have, I guess, I want to say, larger format PDFs that are meant to be plotted as a poster size, and then they'll have better details with respect to the streets.
Is that basically how the county and the city handle theirs?
The county and city well, the city had their own GIS department, and so they were able to post the maps online through their GIS department. And the county, we did not work with Sandoval County on their redistricting, but with, I think, Bernalillo County, I think they had their own GIS department. Work on that. At the very least, they posted detailed PDFs. I don't know if they had any sort of interactive maps. And the city of Albuquerque, they're still figuring out the best way to approach showing the maps to the public.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll start going through the board. Gary Tripp, any questions, comments, thoughts?
Few questions or comments. My first question, Madam President, is what is the end date? What are we looking at as far as voting on redistricting? Is there a date that we have in mind as a board?
Madam President, Board Member Tripp, the statutory deadline is the end of this calendar year.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. I was noticing, Mr. Sharp, that Plan D and Plan E, and I was looking at them earlier today. I was looking at they had the plus or minus variance at the very bottom, the closest. I think one was 3.1 District 2 in Plan D and 1.6 in Plan E. Those two plans just seemed interesting because they had the other plans had a variance close to -5% or +5% throughout the plans. But I know in my district, District C, had the largest number of Hispanic voters in District 1, Plan C, and Native American percentages. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around what all that means, and writing down respecting cultural and historical traditions. I think respecting cultures and historical traditions is kind of tough to wrap your head around in Rio Rancho, New Mexico. We're not a very we're a new baby in the block of the history of communities or school districts. So
those are interesting comments, and I think I mentioned that last time. Is the population throughout New Mexico, throughout Rio Rancho, is very distributed fairly evenly, and so it's tough to identify, say, traditionally Hispanic neighborhoods or traditionally African American or traditionally Asian. It's just that history isn't there yet. And in terms of the deviations themselves, that's certainly a factor you can take into account. We tend to look at total deviations. So if that's important, then what you would do is you take the district with the largest positive deviation, then take the district with the lowest negative deviation. So let me see which one's on your screen right now. We'll go with whatever one is there. But as an example, Plan E, the largest positive is 1.1. I'll call it largest negative is 1.6. If you take the absolute value, you strip off the negative, 1.6 plus 1.1 is 2.7. So you have a 2.7 total deviation for Plan E. So you can run through all the plans if you like and make that comparison. I mean, in the eyes of the constitutional requirements and the court decisions with respect to equal population, every plan is equal to every other plan because they all meet that plus or minus 5% standard. And so it's just a matter of what you prefer and how important that lower deviation is.
thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Anything else, Gary?
No, thank you, Madam President.
Okay, thank you. Jeffrey Morgan.
No questions, but thanks for the work. Like Dr. Cleveland said, I need to go back and really dig deep into these, take another look. So thanks for your work and your time. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. And Noreen Scott?
I'm looking forward to a larger format map. It's very hard to tell in what we have right now. And during your presentation, I had to turn off my camera to put my nose up against the screen so I could figure it out. But appreciate the time and energy you put forth on it. Thank you.
Okay. And Jessica Tyler?
Yeah, one of the things that would be helpful to me is when you were doing your presentation and you were naming some of the neighborhoods that would be potentially split, if we could have a list of those neighborhoods, because for me, it's not always, they're not always apparent on a map as far as, you know, the little inner communities and neighborhoods that fall within Rio Rancho. And then from my perspective, the other most, or one of the more important things that I want to consider is the areas of future growth, because on some of those plans where there are the larger deviations, those are also some of the districts that will either have the most growth or sometimes no growth. And so I wanted to kind of take that into consideration in our decision making as well. But I think it would be good for us to, you know, maybe narrow it down as a board to, you know, maybe 3 options for the public to then give input if we could, you know, work on coming to an agreement on a few of the options. I think that makes it easier for the public.
Yeah, thank you. Well, so what I'm thinking, I wonder if we could do like a workshop, maybe Beth and Dr. Cleveland, maybe get a workshop together for the board once we get those maps in, and we can kind of hang out and stare at them. So we are thinking, I was just listening to Jessica Tyler, that the board kind of narrows them down and then we go to like parent university sort of thing, or do we want to bring them all to parent university, have a narrow down and then keep going? What are you thinking? Dr. Cleveland, I'll go to.
I think a couple of things. I do agree. I think narrowing it down makes it a lot easier. And the board, there's some maps that after the board looks at it, just probably wouldn't even consider. So there's no point to do that. I do think a workshop is a good thing where we actually have the maps and you can sit and look at it, go into and talk about the issue. For example, that board member Tyler is talking about, whether we'll split neighborhoods that have historically always been perceived to be together. And how much change do we really want? How little change do we really want? That's something the board has got to grapple with. So I do think that I will, and I guess another thing the board needs to really consider is whether or not people in the community will want to see the hard maps. And if so, where would we put those and how would we manage that to do that safely? But I really think there's going to be people in the community who want to see the maps, and they don't want to see it on a computer, and they want a larger ability to look at that. But that's just conjecture on my part. But that's kind of what I suspect, having done this a few times, that we will need to have both. But I think a parent university is a great idea to give people the information and then tell them, for example, where they could go if they wanted to look at more detail.
Beth, you want to add?
And I was just going to also, you know, what we've done with the, when we've adjusted boundaries for schools, Kim has always built out the interactive maps on Google so people can zoom in, they can type in their address, find where their house is, find, you know, that in relation to the boundaries. And so Kim has the capability of building those out. So I remember in our last rebounding, we sent those out so parents could really look at that, find where their house was, see where the changes were. And so that seemed to work really well as well.
Yeah. Well, and then with that, could we create even a form with that where they could just submit a form also as they kind of look through those? I think that would be great too. So
I want to emphasize again, as I've had one person actually ask, we said it in the last board meeting, but emphasize again, this has no impact on school attendance areas whatsoever. And so as people look at that, they do not have to worry that it's going to change where their child is going to go to school. So I just want to really emphasize that that's not what this is all about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you for that. Anyone else, any questions or any other comments? Okay. All right. Do we feel like we have enough to kind of move forward with where we're at now? Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Sharp. Any last words before you?
No, thank you. Thank you for listening and being patient with the descriptions. And I understand it's hard to sometimes look at the maps, and we'll provide whatever help and descriptions or details that you need to move this process along. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate you coming out and all the hard work you've been putting in. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. It's kind of interesting. You know, I've never had the opportunity to do something like this, and to kind of, I appreciate all the board members, everyone's different perspectives, things that I didn't think of when I was first looking at them. So hopefully we can have some more engagement on these and talk them over. Luckily, we have some time, right? We have some time, and it doesn't need to be a huge rush. So I think that's a good thing. And it's important for us to take the time to do that, since it will last for 10 years, and especially looking at that future growth. So, okay. All right, moving on back to our agenda. We will go to approve the consent agenda. Are there any questions on the consent as it's been presented? Do we have a motion?
Support Member Jeff Morgan, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Scary Tripp, I second it.
Okay. We have a motion by Jeff Morgan and a second by Gary Tripp. Kim, can you take a roll call vote for us?
Yes. Vice President Morgan,
Yes.
Secretary Scott,
Yes.
Board Member Tripp,
Yes.
Board Member Tyler,
Yes.
President Galbraith.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Secretary Scott, did you have a question or?
I did. I wanted to know the disposition of the land that was previously Shining Stars, and prior to that was Stapleton. If we could be informed at another meeting, the status of that, so that we could understand where things were with that.
Absolutely. We can certainly do that.
That would be wonderful. Yeah, we've had a couple of different things in the community on that, so that would be great if at our next meeting we can get that on the agenda. Thank you. All right, moving into our business portion. For item A, we will consider the approval of unapproved minutes for the January 24th, 2022 regular meeting. Any changes that anyone saw that needs to take place on those minutes? Or a motion?
Support Member Jeff Morgan, I make a motion for the approval of the unapproved minutes for the January 24th, 2022 meeting.
This is Jessica Tyler. I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion by Jeff Morgan and a second by Jessica Tyler. Kim, can you take a roll call vote for us?
Vice President Morgan,
Yes.
Secretary Scott,
Yes.
Board Member Tripp,
Yes.
Board Member Tyler,
Yes.
and President Galbraith.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. And Kim, I just want to say thank you for all the work that you put on those minutes. I was just grateful as I was looking through them today that you're able to capture so much from the meetings. So thank you.
You're welcome.
For item B, we're going to consider the award of RFP 2022-012-SEC, Security Services on Demand. Michael Madrid, our Purchasing Director, and also Sal Maniapchi, our Executive Director of Safety and Security is on.
Board President Galbraith, Superintendent Dr. Cleveland, members of the Rancho Public School Board. I want to just kind of start out. I kind of retooled the little board memo. I know that in the past there was maybe some confusion as far as what requested action we need the board to take. So I went ahead and just added a column right in the beginning of my board memo that you guys will read if you're in agreement with the information that's presented, and that'll be the action that we're soliciting the board's approval on. And with that being said, this is a procurement that was initiated on behalf of the Safety and Security Department. The services that are solicited are to supplement the services that are currently being conducted by the staff. It'll be for services outside of the normal working hours, whether it's an evening, a weekend, or maybe just additional resources that the Safety and Security Department requires assistance with. The individual companies will provide oversight at the various activities and events that the district administers. They'll also provide patrolling of the various facilities within the district, looking at vandalisms and any other issues that might come up and hopefully mitigate those concerns. With that being said, we have a total of 4 responses that were received to this solicitation. The first company that we received a response from is 3D Security Services Group. They are out of Albuquerque. We have Condor Security of America, also out of Albuquerque. We have AJF Enterprises Incorporated Security Services out of Rio Rancho, and Allied Universal Security Services out of Albuquerque. As is typical with all our procurements, we review the information that's provided to the solicitation. We ensure responsiveness and compliance to the general requirements and the submittal of the various affidavits that are identified in the solicitation. All 4 vendors were deemed to be responsive and were eligible for review by the evaluation committee. The committee did their review, and we ranked the submittals based on the qualifications and the other criteria identified in the solicitation. And even though it wasn't required, I want to kind of stress that the 2 vendors that we're recommending award, not only did they rank the highest, but they also provided the district the best price. Recommendation is going to be for a multiple award issued to AJF Enterprises Incorporated, Security Services, and Condor Security of America. With that, I'd like to redirect the board back to the requested action, and I stand for any questions.
Madam
First, I want to
President.
say thank you for adding that requested action at the top. Sorry, go ahead, Gary Tripp.
No, that's okay. I have a question, Madam
Yeah.
President, and it's more of a comment. I just want to compliment Mr. Mike Baker, our Chief Operating Officer. This is very dear to all our hearts. I know that, and to me, I hope we keep this as a forefront of continuous improvement. That we're always looking at the safety of our children. I heard the words from Mr. Madrid about safety at our events, or our safety on the weekends, and our buildings are becoming 24/7 type of buildings, and so our safety of our children is of utmost importance 24 hours a day. My question is in the future, I don't know if this makes sense or not, but if Mr. Baker or head of security or somebody could help us and help the community understand when companies like this come in to assist us, how they are being trained to work with K-12 students in different venues. So I just leave that for the future, but I just want to compliment Dr. Cleveland and Mr. Baker and the continuous improvement that we're always looking at keeping our children safe. Thank you.
Thanks. I see Sal's on. I don't know, Sal, if you want to just go ahead and talk to that.
Yep.
Yes, Madam President, Board Member Tripp, in reference to your question, the supplemental security companies that we use for primarily our buildings and assets in the evenings and on the weekends have very limited to no contact with students at all. We do use them to augment some of our security services at maybe some different athletic events. Almost always they are in the presence of our security staff, and they are at least level 1 RLD private security certified.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for adding that. All right. Other questions? I saw Dr. Cleveland came on. Dr. Cleveland, did you want to take a moment?
Well, and I don't, has every board member had a chance to?
I can keep going. You can go ahead if you want to add something.
Oh,
I'll
okay.
go
All right.
back to the board.
I just wanted to support what Mr. Tripp is saying, that it is a really important issue for us. And we continue to try to provide the very safest environment, because if you don't do that, nothing else happens. And if people are worried about their safety, learning doesn't happen. And so we really appreciate the hard work that has gone into our safety and security area. Mr. Maniac has done a lot along with Mike Baker and others. It continues to be at the forefront. I very much support having several sources to which we can look to when we need that additional help, but we need it on an on-demand basis. And so thank you for the hard work that has gone into pulling all this together, Mr. Madrid, and your work on it as well. So I just wanted to mention how really important this is. The security issue is just really important to us. And so thank you all for your hard work on it.
Thank you, Dr. Cleveland. And we'll go over to Noreen Scott.
Yes, Mr. Madrid, I would like to thank you for having one of those folks be a company from Rio Rancho that made me very happy. And I appreciate all your hard work.
Thank you, Member Scott.
All right. Jessica Tyler.
I don't have anything to add, but again, just concurring that it's important that we have sufficient security. Definitely a priority.
Yep. And Jeff Morgan?
No questions. Just thanks for your work. Really appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So I will entertain a motion. So I'd like to make a motion.
Madam President, I can make a motion in reference to the award of RFP number 2022-012 SEC for Security Services on Demand for the approval of the Evaluation Committee's recommendation to issue a multiple award to the two highest ranked offers for AJF Enterprises Incorporated and Condor Security of America.
This is Secretary Noreen Scott. I'll second that.
Thank you. We have a motion by Jessica Tyler and a second by Noreen Scott. Kim, can you take a roll call vote for us?
Vice President Morgan,
Yes.
Secretary Scott,
Yes.
Board Member Tripp,
Yes.
Board Member Tyler,
Yes.
and President Galbraith.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank
I'd
you.
like to thank the board for their support and all the procurements that we present to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, board. Thank you.
Thanks, Al. Okay, for our next item is the acceptance of donated items, which we always love donated items, from Intel, and Beth Pendergrass, our Chief Communications Strategy and Engagement Officer, is on.
Good evening again, Madam President Galbraith, Dr. Cleveland, members of the board. Again, Beth Pendergrass, Chief Communications Strategy and Engagement Officer. I'm here this evening to present a list of donated goods that Intel has offered to us every once in a while. I don't know if they do spring cleaning or what it is, but it benefits the school district. And so this time they have about 90 STEM kits for the schools. There is a 5-foot programmable robot that's a Lego robot. There is a 3D imaging computer, a couple office or desk chairs, and a desk that they've reached out and have given to us to share with our STEM programs, robotics programs. And so generally in the past, I've not ever taken the list to the school board as it was goods, but I wanted to bring that list to the board. I think it was very kind of Intel to reach out and offer us these items. And I know that the schools really appreciate it when they get these surprises. So
That is what you guys realize, that robot is my height, basically. That I want to see that. I'm hoping at some point I get to see. Well, my boys both do robotics, so hopefully at some point I'll be able to see that robot. That's wonderful. Well, thank you. Dr. Cleveland, are you on? Did you want to say something before I go over to the board?
Just really quickly, we do appreciate these kinds of donations. They really help us fill in the gaps and so we appreciate our local businesses thinking of us and contributing that. I also want to add that Intel wrote a very nice letter for us to carry to Santa Fe today, and how appreciative we were of them. It was a really strong and positive letter. So we thank them for that contribution as well as the equipment.
Thank you, Dr. Cleveland. Jessica Tyler, anything?
No, grateful for their support.
Thank you. Gary Tripp?
Thank you very much for intel. It was great.
Noreen Scott?
Just thank you to Intel for their continued support of our school district. They've been a huge asset throughout the history of our district, and we're very grateful.
Thank you. And Jeff Morgan?
Again, thanks.
Wow. All right. Thank you. I'm so glad that you brought that. That's great. I'm glad you brought the list this time. That was wonderful to hear. So thank you, Beth, for bringing that to us. And thank you, Intel. We are so grateful. All right. Thank you. All right. We do need to. We need a motion. I get really excited at the end of the meetings and forget everything that I'm doing. Go ahead.
This is Board Member Jeff Morgan. I make a motion that we accept the donated items from Intel.
This is Secretary Noreen Scott. I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Jeff Morgan and a second by Noreen Scott. And Kim, if you could take a roll call vote for us, please.
Vice President Morgan,
Yes.
Secretary Scott,
Yes.
Board Member Tripp,
Yes.
Board Member Tyler,
Yes.
and President Galbraith.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you. Okay, for our last item, item D, we're going to consider approval of a waiver for the rule, for NMSA 22-5-6 to allow employment of Royce Cleveland by Rio Rancho Public Schools. We have Mike Chavez, our Executive Director of Human Resources, on to discuss with us.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Cleveland, members of the board. Mike Chavez, Executive Director of Human Resources. I'm here this evening to request that the board consider waiving the nepotism rule, which is outlined in Board Policy 736, based upon NMSA 22-5-6, which concerns the hiring of family members by the superintendent. I would point out to the board that while this policy/statute does preclude the superintendent from hiring family members, it also includes language that allows the board the capacity to waive this rule at your discretion. This exception is being requested on behalf of Royce Cleveland, Dr. Sue Cleveland's son, and would allow him permission to apply for whichever position he is qualified for, and if recommended for a position, would allow him to be hired into that position as an employee of the district. I stand for questions.
Okay. Thank you. I'll go ahead and just run over through the board really fast. Noreen Scott, any questions on this?
No questions.
Okay. Gary Tripp?
No questions.
Jessica Tyler?
No questions.
Okay. Jeff Morgan, any questions?
None at all. Thanks.
Okay. I will entertain a motion on this.
This is Secretary Noreen Scott. I move that we remove or waive the the rule that I'm sorry, I'm not calling it correctly. The rule that would not allow us nepotism in the case of Royce Cleveland. I think someone who grew up in our district, who is going to bring real enthusiasm, and as many vacancies as we have open, I welcome his addition.
This is Gary Tripp. I echo it and second it.
Okay. All right. So with that, we will go for a roll call vote. If Kim would come on and do that for us.
Okay, Vice President Morgan,
Yes.
Secretary Scott,
Yes.
Board Member Tripp,
Yes.
Board Member Tyler,
Yes.
and President Galbraith.
Yes.
And the motion carries 5-0.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board.
Thank you, Mike. Dr. Cleveland, anything else?
I just wanted to mention two quick things and thank you. We have 140 plus vacancies in our district right now. So we have an awful lot of slots that need to be filled. So thank you. I also wanted to say that when I did my presentation earlier and talked about our visit to the governor, and I said we, I didn't say who we were. So I want to let you know that we had Larry Davis, who's our CTE director and has, of course, a rich background was a real asset in terms of the visit. And then Billy Hilling also went, president of the Rio Rancho School Employees Union, was also part of that visit. So I want to thank them for taking their time and going up and being part of that. I also neglected to say, and should have, that Secretary Steinhaus was part of that meeting and has been working very hard to keep this at the forefront. We really appreciate his personal support in trying to look at some additional revenue for our district. And I did mention in my report that he had been here to look at the facility in some depth, and walked it all. And so he was also a part of that, as well as some of the other members. So I just wanted to recognize the other folks who were there, who were part of that conversation, because they added so much, and was really glad that they were able to attend as well.
Thank you, Dr. Cleveland. I see we have a hand, Noreen Scott.
Yes, I'd just like to thank Dr. Cleveland for all her energy and effort to make this CTE program a reality. And we are very, very grateful to you for all the time and energy you put into it. Thank you.
And I think we all echo that. And you know, that's the thing is we're so grateful for everyone in our district and just in our community. It's all the partnerships and in New Mexico, that's going to help make these things, you know, come and work out, that we can have this wonderful program in our district. And it is so, so, so needed. And so thank you. Yes, Dr. Cleveland. And thank you to Larry and for you all going up there. We just really, really appreciate that. So thank you. Okay, we will move into advanced planning. So February 28th, we have a finance committee meeting that will be at 4:30. Also on February 28th, we will have a regular board meeting at 5:30 p.m. March 3rd, there will be parent-teacher conferences at the elementary school level. And March 4th, there will be parent-teacher conferences both in elementary and in middle school. Then March 14th, we'll have another regular board meeting at 5:30. And March 21st to the 25th will be spring break. Also, just something to keep on, we will be putting together a board retreat. We're hoping to get that. I feel like time is going too quickly. I was hoping to get that put on in March, but if anything, it might be early April. But we will have a board retreat, which is just an opportunity for us as a board. It will be posted as a meeting, but it's an opportunity for us as a board to kind of work together in those things that are important to us as board members, so that as we move ahead in the next couple of years, we can communicate effectively with each other and we can move on some issues that are really important to each of us. We'll also have some training that will take place in that meeting as well. And hopefully we're hoping have possibly some previous board members that can come out and kind of share some of their thoughts and just some things that were useful to them as they were on the board. So just keep that in your mind that will be coming up as well. So with that, our meeting is adjourned for tonight. Thank you everyone for sticking with us tonight. Appreciate
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
You guys
Happy
too.
Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's
Happy
Day.
Valentine's.
Thanks, Kim.